What a great day. What a great dream prior to this day. Sailing on oceans blue, sitting on chairlifts over scenes full of gold that are far gone. Just walking around the store. Because, I mean, there's really nowhere else you can walk around in town without basically freezing to death. So, we're here because basically there's nowhere else to go. Am I onto something? Who knows? Looks like I'm in the Bob and Silent J show. I see Jay everywhere I go. And he says nothing but careful. Careful, Bob. Careful, Bobby. Like that's all that silence really says. If we were to sum it up, put it in some high res, then it's like the world saying that really there's only two ways that this can end. You burn up in the sun, or you get taken to someone. So while in the sun, everything is silent. The idea of carefulness is actually the next step from violent. Take your pick of what you want. If you have the money, then will actually is being taken yourself. Do you have goodwill? Do you make good choices? Or in just saying that you're here, you're making choices, and a lot of good ones. Whether or not you grab. Hello, how are you doing? Just hanging out.
What?
Just hanging out.
Oh, my God.
Looking at holiday stuff, I guess.
There's a lot of good stuff.
But in every idea of careful, you see, there's obviously choices that aren't really careful even here. For you, for me. Like I said, that's just some natural aversion.
How's your day?
Me? Just, I mean, well, not barely starting, but sort of. It's hasn't been enough happen yet for me to really judge it. So,
I get that.
yeah.
It's freaking out here. I'm like,
Well, actually, it feels like this might be the warmest place in the whole store.
it's
So,
meant for me to like warm up enough to. I
Yeah,
freeze really simply, so.
yeah, it's pretty warm out here, actually.
Put the heater on over there. All of the little black things are heaters. It's nice.
In my experience, the worst days, though, are kind of like,
It's always like this at Garden Center, and
Oh, yeah?
it's worse in the winter.
yeah.
So it's like it's not too bad. It's just is what it is.
Yeah, I was just gonna say something like, you ever had like a word like stuck on the tip of your tongue, you can't like think of it, right? In my opinion, that's what the worst days are like. It's like, oh man, it's like forgetting a piece of luggage, you can't think of the right word, or it might just be as basic as that. Just it's all because whenever you're done with something in the future, it always seems silly
Oh yeah.
when you're in a better place, you know. So, but
I'm
yeah,
sitting here in my head because there's nothing else to do.
yeah. If you do think about it, I always think this: like, if you know the right words, you can basically do anything in this world. So really, you probably can reduce most bad days down to just there's one word that's just on the tip of my tongue and I just can't think of it. Because yeah, if you really do think of it, yeah, like if you knew the right words, I mean, you could rule the world.
It's the truth.
So,
It is so the truth. I would love to rule the world. I'm just trying to get through divorce. And we've had 2 court appearances already, and I'm like, why doesn't he show up? He started it. And
Oh,
I
really?
just realized why he's not showing up. And I'm like, crap. Because there's a protective order, so he won't show up. People are like, he doesn't care. That's why he's not showing up. I'm like, there's another reason for it. I know there's another reason for it. He started it. Why wouldn't he show up? Oh, yeah, crap. I forgot.
well,
Like,
being the third party that I am, I should probably not say much, but just say you're welcome to tell me whatever you want. But I probably shouldn't say much.
I try not to say a whole lot because it's not good to talk about people when they can't defend themselves.
Yeah, you know what, I kind of adhere to the thing, like I'll talk about people maybe behind their backs, even as long as it's something that I'm willing to like say to their face as well. Like if I feel comfortable about like, oh yeah, I would actually say that to them, then I'll say that, you know, when they're not there too.
Sitting here though,
So-
for like the last like few court appearances, I'm like, why doesn't he show
That would be a pretty good reason, I guess.
I don't know how to fix it either. The people that are running my life are like, you should just drop that protective order. And I'm like, yeah, no. I need it to stay there for a bit longer. There's no purpose for it.
Well, I have a friend, sort of a similar situation, I guess, but I don't know. I just told him, I said, hey, you know what? Like, at the end of the day, the world is all about, you can't prove everything to everybody. I don't know. I was just like, you better just say like what you believe more than anything. And hopefully, if there is like a higher power of any kind, even if it's just like,
Did you ever watch Young Sheldon?
I've seen The Big Bang Theory, but I've never seen Young Sheldon before.
There was a reel on Facebook yesterday, and his mother is talking about she's quit believing in God, and he goes on this little.
Oh yeah, his mom was always super religious, huh?
He's like on this rant about the universe and the stars and gravity, and it's this way or it's this way, and he feels like somebody had to create it to be just so. And his mom looks at him and goes, "You don't believe in God? Why are you trying to convince me?" And he's like, "Because you always did, and so you always should."
Yeah. There's in my head, there's always one way to revert the conversation back. Okay, you can either progress the conversation or you can revert the conversation. Like, you always just have to say television is television, okay? Like, if things are actually real, then I say like, okay, yeah, like you watch Star Trek and Spock's on Star Trek and he says like something about logic. But the truth about logic is that if you are purely logical, it proves nothing. But you can't have that be on a TV show. It's just a TV show, okay? Like, you can't have the TV show prove nothing, otherwise you're not going to be watching it. So, Scorpion? I don't think. Yeah, I have seen Scorpion. Yeah, I've seen Scorpion.
We watched episode by episode, and there's an episode where this kid gets buried by sand at the beach. Like, he gets sucked into like a hole in the sand, and I had a hard time watching that one.
Yeah, you just gotta. If you're watching it, you have to just realize it's just entertainment. You have to put that. You have to put that away.
He's gonna die. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you have to put that away.
I got up and I left the room. And I was like,
Yeah, I've seen Scorpion. Yeah, I mean, you can always, like I said, you can either progress the conversation or revert it. Like, you can say God or you can just say emotion. Like, you could just say, like, does emotion exist? And the more you can prove that emotion is actually a true thing in this world, then it's just basically about what you can express. Like, if you have some idea, then write it down about the complexities of the universe.
I have
Because
a friend, and they live.
because it's hard to dispute the fact that emotion exists.
That's not my friend, it's my uncle. My uncle has told me that anxiety is not real. It's made up.
Well, I think anxiety it's a very fine line between anxiety and excitement. So is just like, or you could say God, or you could almost say competition. Does competition exist?
Well, yeah.
Is another way. If you advance it, you can say competition. If you revert it, you can just say emotion. So
You might say anxiety doesn't exist. But what else am I going to call it when I can't breathe? And he's like, a medical problem. And I'm like, yeah. He's old-fashioned.
all I say to everybody is the future just represents choice. If you can get past whatever it is you're going through, because you could say anxiety. I could just, like, if I was to try and put other words on it, maybe I would just say like a scary moment. Okay, like you could say that. There's always a synonym to everything. And like I said, you can either advance it or revert it, because if you make it a greater problem, the anxiety should still fit in with the idea of just a scary time.
Yeah.
So I always just say to everybody, like, hey, if you can make it through whatever it is that you're going through, the future always represents choice, okay? And so you can always, to an extent, the future represents denial too. So you can always, if you get through whatever you're going through, you can always almost deny what it was that you were going through also.
Talk about anything you want to talk about. I know a lot about pretty much everything, but I don't know everything about everything. And they're like, what does that even mean?
You're just like drawing cogs and wheels basically at that point. This turns this.
My my friend picked up salt over there last week, and I'm like, "Don't move an inch that way," and she's like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Don't move your hand an inch to the left," and she's like, "Okay," and she dropped the salt on the ground. There was a hornet that big on the salt. And I moved him off of the salt onto a napkin, and I put the napkin somewhere, and she grabbed the salt and went on her way. He left us alone, we left him alone.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, if you're really Buddhist, especially if you're really Buddhist, they don't hurt any bugs or anything like that, you know what I mean? They like step over all the animals. Yeah.
Spiders to me fall into the category of, no, that doesn't belong on this planet.
Yeah.
I'm working on that because
You know what? It's hard to say though. Like sometimes even just doing little things like little creatures like that does affect you. You know what I mean? Just like it can make I don't know, like
I was sitting in an office building.
die.
And
It's
there was
easy to
a
see even
spider
that.
this big crawling across the floor. I'm like, nope, that thing needs to go. It can be dead. And the lady that was behind the counter saw me jump back. She goes, "What are you looking at?" I'm like, "There's this huge wolf spider." And I'm okay with like jumping spiders, and I'm okay with these.
Yeah, wolf spiders can get pretty big.
But I don't like spiders. That's one thing that like.
My brother had a tarantula for a long time growing up. He would just hold it. It would just crawl in his hands but he had snakes too.
Snakes, tarantulas, okay. Tarantulas,
Yeah, he would let it crawl around on like his hand and stuff like that.
Because, you know, in third grade, my teacher had a tarantula. And how do you sell holding a spider to kids?
Just do it.
She's like, "You want to hold a tarantula? It'll just bite you like a bee sting." Yeah, no, we'll pass on that.
Yeah, I don't want a bee sting. You don't. That's not how you sell it. You sell it. Yeah. You know, if she didn't hold it, you probably shouldn't hold it. Is my take on that. Or at least have some gloves or something. Like here's some rubber dishwashing gloves.
Like, you know, as a kid, you don't think, yeah, that's a good idea. Just a bee sting, it's all good.
Huh.
I
Yeah.
thought it was hilarious.
That's funny. But like it's
We live down in Springville. I walked in the house and I'm like, "Why is there a tarantula on my kitchen table?" Well, his boss had decided his wife wanted a tarantula for Christmas. But he couldn't have it at their house. So he left it at our house. And I was like, "I don't care that it's in the house in the terrarium, it's not on my table. Put it somewhere where I can't see it."
have you ever seen Home Alone?
Yeah.
And he's
He
like
picks up the spider
his
and puts
brother.
it right on Marv's face.
Yeah. That's what I always think about. Is his brother had that tarantula and that scares that one guy to death or whatever.
But you know, in that regard, Jungle the Jungle, the kid had a spider.
Jungle the Jungle, I've heard the name. I don't know if I've ever seen it.
That's the one with Tim Allen and the little Indian boy.
Maybe I've seen it one
He
time
takes the
browsing
Indian and,
browsing
like,
the
to
TV
this
channels
thing,
or something.
And he goes, "Well, you know, I was obligated." "What's obligated?" "It means I was forced to do it. I didn't want to." He goes, "You were obligated to take me?" "Oh crap, I didn't really mean that." Yeah.
I've probably seen it just browsing. I used to watch a lot of Tim Allen stuff.
They had a huge bird eater tarantula for that one. It was awesome. There's a guy that unboxes little teeny baby tarantulas that are this big. I'm like, they start off that small, really?
Yeah.
Like, you'd think they come out big.
Yeah, you'd think. You wanna know what I always thought was neat looking as a baby was a chameleon.
Yeah, those are.
I thought chameleons looked really, really neat as babies.
My little sister lives in New Coyama, California.
Okay.
So she sent me a picture of a sun spider. And I looked at it and I went, that kind of looks like the spiders from over in Iraq. Camel spiders. So I Googled it. Sun spiders or camel spiders.
Oh, they're the same thing, huh?
There's camel spiders in California.
In Australia, they have giant spiders too. They're called like hunter spiders. They get pretty big.
In Australia, they have these funnel weaver spiders.
Yeah, they have those in South America too.
And they
Funnel
call
web.
this guy, this reel that this guy does, he goes into the house and finds it. It's a funnel web is what they call it. And
Yeah.
they're poisonous. One bite will kill you. So anytime anybody sees one of those spiders, they call him because they
Take
run
care
at
of
you
it.
and bite you. Yeah.
I've been, I'm just talking to you about stuff I've done. I don't know, my family, we used to be a lot more adventurous. Like I've like canoed across like crocodile infested waters down in like Costa Rica. Or
I
we,
would love to, but I haven't ever been out of the States.
really?
Nah, I stayed. The military put me here in Utah, and I stayed here when I got out.
Start watching Wild Thornberries. That's what I used to watch. I don't know if it had an effect on my ability to get out of the state or not, but I mean, I used to watch it and I got out of the state.
Houses on the East Coast.
That's what you're watching right now?
I'm looking at to buy.
Oh, you're looking at, okay.
Um,
Where over like Virginia and stuff like that?
There's houses in Farrell, Pennsylvania for $70,000, $60,000, $50,000, $20,000. There was one last year, and this is one of those, you buy the house, you bulldoze it, and then you bring in a new one.
Yeah.
They sold it for $8,000. Like, that's how you do that. You buy the house, you bulldoze it, you put a new one in. Because, you know an $8,000 house ain't going to be that great.
Well, as they say, debt isn't your enemy. Most of the biggest financial people I've ever met, they usually say that. So when you're looking at stuff, I don't know, that's like what,
Well, one of my friends said, you're buying a $24,000 house, what's wrong with it? And I'm like, probably everything, but I can afford to fix it at $300 a month.
yeah.
How do they have the register on if the door doesn't open?
No one's coming in here. They put you back in here to keep, to put you back in here.
I've been with Walmart for 16 years.
Oh, really?
This last year, I finished my associates in IT. And I'm like,
I'm an eternal student. I have like 140, 150 credits and just everything.
Walmart will pay for
Oh, really?
So they'll go up to a bachelor's. I'm like,
If I got a degree, if the school would grant me a degree, I'd have a master's. And
the divorce court's different from the child court, and the child court people want everybody in 6 different therapies, and I'm like, there's no room for school right now in my busy schedule, but when everything gets settled down, I think I'm going to finish my bachelor's.
yeah. My whole thing is, I don't know, I base my life of like simple principles, like, Archimedes, his thing is like, give me a lever and I'll turn the world. You ever heard that? Which a lever is basically just like a seesaw machine.
It's like a,
Really? So
Yeah.
you're on one side. Yeah, you're on one side and then the world's on the other side. So the more you can make the world equal, basically, the more it's just about like being able to express yourself. Because I always say this, like you could be the greatest person in the world and you probably shouldn't expect the world if you really are like the best person ever. And if
there's
you're the
still going to be somebody that is an asshole.
yeah, that, but just like if you have like the right moral values, you're not going to expect the world.
No.
Because you understand the idea of limitations, even, or something like that. Just
People in my life say, you can't talk to that person. He's a bad person. If
Really?
you talk to that person, we're going to take your kids from you. And I'm like, so because he has a past or she has a past, I can't talk to them? That's right.
yeah, I'm definitely not in the same situation as you, but I just look at it like
I
things.
meet people, I talk to everybody.
Yeah,
Because it doesn't occur to me that somebody might be a bad person. I figure as long as they're not bad to me, they're fine.
I think a lot of it is definitely how you're raised. It's like certain things will bug you. Almost, and I mean, I could give you examples like in the natural world. It's like some things are toxic to some things, and some things aren't toxic to other things. But it's because they grew up basically in the relationship, okay, with like those certain things.
So my husband wouldn't go
So-
camping. But growing up as a kid, we went camping every other weekend. And we had a tent that we bought. We were gonna start going camping, and my middle daughter goes, "You mean in the dirt?" And I'm like, "Well, we ain't gonna pinch the tent in the living room, so yeah, it's in the dirt." She's like, "I'll stay home."
If you really love it though, at some point in time you might just put it up in the living room. You might, yeah, if it's
My
really what you
in-laws
love
came
doing.
and took the tent in case he got kicked out of his girlfriend's house, so that he had somewhere to live. You're not gonna live in a tent in the middle of winter. What kind of crazy are they?
Nah, tent's definitely not the best option in winter. Actually, digging a snow cave is a really good option.
I know a guy that lives in a tent in the middle of winter.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that would be cold. I can't do that. Mm-mm.
You want to know what though? Right now is almost a little bit more cold than in the dead of winter because the snow actually gives a little bit of insulation.
Well, so
To be honest.
when the snow's in the mountains, the air's colder. I don't know why, but to me, when the snow's in the mountains, I get cold really quick.
Oh yeah, not a bit. I mean, you don't. Anytime you go up on the mountain, you're gonna be cold. To be honest with you, like if you go up into the mountain, yeah. But I mean, if you use the snow to your advantage, and you obviously find like some sort of recess somewhere, the snow it will provide like insulation. Right now is probably one of the coldest times of the year, almost.
I
I mean,
had a guy take me camping in the middle of
temperature measurements
a
are all.
snow blizzard, and like he didn't have like wood or anything for a fire, and I'm like, "How are you planning on keeping this warm?" And he's like, "With the propane stove," and I'm like, "I think we can go home now."
They're like, this wasn't thought through well enough.
I'm like, there has to be wood for a fire. I'm sorry. I'm a California native.
Oh yeah.
Pennsylvania, they still have 70-degree weather for another week before it gets cold. And then they're cold for like 2 months, and then they warm back up. At least where my friend lives. I had a friend that lives in Ohio. I don't think I want to go to Ohio. There's too many stories. I got a friend that lives in Georgia. There's some counties in Georgia that still use corporal punishment in the schools. And I have a kid with autism, so I really don't think swatting it out of her is going to work. So that's not going to work. I think it depends.
Yeah, everyone has a history. I don't know. What are
The South, like, a lot of the South still does that, though. They still paddle kids in the school. And you'd have to figure out which one doesn't, maybe. But I asked one of my friends, I hang out with one of my friends a lot. And I'm like, are you going to drive me out to wherever I decide to move to because I lack the ability to tow a trailer? And he's like, no, because then you can't come see me anymore. And I'm like, okay, that's accurate. So. When all of my life changed in April, March, I had a friend say, buy me a plane ticket, I'll come out and drive you out here right now. And I said no. Because I didn't think that leaving the States would be a good idea, because then he could just call me back because of the children. So, gotta get it all done. Why you got a chicken bone hanging around your neck? Is it part of a costume?
No, it's just a totem.
And I know it's not a chicken bone.
No, it's just I know. It's just like a totem necklace like piece that I made. Just
Hey, it's cool.
yeah, just a little comfort object. Some people have a teddy bear. I made my little wooden mummy.
The
Basically.
Planet of the Cave Bear. Have you read that book?
The Plan of the Cave Bear?
Planet of the Cave Bear.
I've never read that, no.
So they have little teeny pouches, and as they grow up, they believe that they see things from the spirit that picks to guard them. And if they see a stone and it looks like something their spirit would have left them, like they made a good choice, they pick it up and put it in the bag.
Okay.
And you have bags around their necks. I would imagine that the bags get pretty big as you go through life.
Yeah, I used to put rocks in my pockets all the time. I was definitely I was just a natural rock hound.
So warm in here.
I think I'm gonna go and meander.
Enjoy your day.
Yeah, Melissa, nice to meet you.
I just didn't put it up.
Well, my last two thoughts were just going to be something like, the more that it's yours, I would say that it probably shouldn't question you. If there are things that you're responsible for, then learn how to like represent those things in some way that they don't necessarily question you. I don't know, but it's tough to say something like that to a mother. But that's what I would say from my perspective. Or like the more that you prove that there's roles in the world, then the more that all it is just a matter of where would you actually like to be a kid. But really, do you want to be a kid again? Like you want to go to Pennsylvania? Maybe to some extent you might have to like actually really whine and rant if you can prove that the world's equal and operates off of a lever system. Then maybe dad is dad for everyone, which is just like the idea of something that actually does represent consideration, just some image, some entity, some form of being, whatever that idea of consideration is for you. And then, yeah, you might have to like whine and rant about what it is that you want. But obviously, that's all according to an amount of moving. How much of this do you want to take there before it is that you can't actually go there because you're changing the environment of what it is that you're looking at, basically. So I don't know. And yeah, that's basically what I would have said, so I don't feel bad about saying any of that stuff now. Interesting. Interessante. Well, I'm probably gonna end this stream right now. Later.